Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is a ginger peach calm stomach herbal tea from Bigelow, which is good because I could always use a calm stomach. I could use a hot tea because I wrong piped before, which sounds kind of weird, but I mean, when you drink something and it goes down the wrong pipe. So if you hear me sounding a little today, that's what it is because that's what you need to hear, right? When you're watching a video. So I decided to do the last of my Chicago hauls, and I decided just to kind of put it in a slightly size order this time, because whatever, I was gonna put it in order of different things, and I thought, no, let's just stick it this way. I thought I'd start. Oh, had a little space where I put my teacup down, and my cat is actually sitting there. You can't see him, but I assure you, my invisible cat is here. So I'm going to start by showing you something I got from a little free library. And the whole time I was visiting my sister, we would, when we were in her car driving around, we would look for little free libraries. She knew of the existence of some and had found some decent things, some really good books in some of them, but you have your good days and you have your bad days. So we were just hit and miss for a while. But I think it was like my last full day anyway, that I found these. And there was a whole bunch of these, but I only took 3 because I knew that I was all I could really get without overloading my luggage. And so I thought, I know nothing about these books. I like mysteries. I like historical fiction. So historical mysteries are always fun. Maybe these will be good. These are by Bernard Knight. And they're called, well, this one's called The Elixir of Death. This one's called Crowner's Quest. And this one's called Crowner Royal. So it's a Crowner John mystery. I don't know much about him, but he appears to be working for the early Plantagenet kings, or the sons of Henry II, or at least in these books it looks like Richard I, and then Eleanor of Aquitaine might show up at some point. She's one of my favorite queens to read about, so maybe they'll be good and maybe they won't, but I mean, the price was most certainly right. So now let's get to the books that I actually spent some money on. Not like a crazy amount, but, and if you watched the video with Bonnie, my sister, when she went to Tangible Books, she found a treasure trove of Ella Montgomery books. A lot of them she had read in the past, but either I had those copies, because I still have quite a few of them back there somewhere, or they just disappeared from existence, and she wanted to find these books, but she also wanted the right editions. That happens sometimes, and that was taken care of. She found a whole bunch, but out of these, I picked one that I really wanted, and so this was the only one that I picked out. And this is L. Montgomery's Across the Miles. So it's a short story collection, which not that into, but with Ella Montgomery, sometimes I can go for it. And this is all about correspondence. And I love this picture because, well, she herself is all right, but like the writing desk, I've always wanted a writing desk like that. It's an ambition of mine, but not yet. I haven't had one yet, but it makes me happy, the picture, so that was pretty cool. Next up is one I found, I think, in Ravenswood. Really appears to be that. And I have read about the Wordsworth here and there, the Wordsworths here and there. More about Dorothy Wordsworth, actually, because I read that book, Jane and Dorothy, I think it was called, a year or so ago. Or at least not this last Jane Austen July, but the one before that. And I know a little bit about the family, but not that much. And she kept regular journals, and I've had excerpts that I've read from, but I've never had any real collection. So this one is an Oxford World's Classic. This is the Grasmere and Alfoxden journals, or Alfoxden, I don't know. I'm probably mispronouncing that. I don't think I've ever heard it pronounced, so, what am I going to do? So I like the picture in the front, right? It's writing. It's, let's see. It's a detail from Man and Woman Writing at a Table by John Harden, 1772 to 1847. So around about the right time period. I don't know when I'm actually going to read this. I don't, it would actually correspond if I ever do, another, well, I'm definitely going to try to do another Jane Austen July when the time comes. More on that in a minute. But that's a little while from now, so who knows. And now, this is another book by Josephine Tay, which is a writer I like. So far, everything I've read of hers I've liked. Not every single thing I've read of hers I've loved, but I've liked everything I've read. So that's a pretty good, standing, I guess. And of course, my favorite one is The Daughter of Time, in which a detective who is laid up examines the whole case, as it were, of Richard III and whether or not he was responsible for the princes in the tower and all that stuff. And it did give rise to a lot of people supporting Richard III as, he was innocent and everything. It was whether it's based on fact or not, it is really a good read, and it would make you, if it moves people that way, then this is a good writer. So if I find anything of hers, I do try to pick it up. And this one I had at a library, but it was, I kind of wanted to have it my own. So when I found it, I got it, The Franchise Affair. So I don't know much about it. Let's see. Shall I read you the description? Inspector Alan Grant returns in one of Tay's finest mysteries. So I guess this is one of her finest. I believe this is Alan Grant. I think he was the one who was investigating in The Daughter of Time. The Daughter of Time. Yeah. So, it says Robert Blair was about to knock off from a slow day at his law firm when the phone rang. It was Marion Sharp on the line, a local woman of quiet disposition who lived with her mother at their decrepit country house. That's so sad. The franchise. It appeared that she was in some serious trouble. Miss Sharp and her mother were accused of brutally kidnapping a demure young woman named Betty Kane. That's pretty bad. Miss Kane's claims seemed highly unlikely, even to Inspector Alan Grant of Scotland Yard, until she described her prison, the attic room with its cracked window, the kitchen, and the old trunks, which sounded remarkably like the franchise. Yet Marion Sharp claimed the Kane girl had never been there, let alone been held captive for an entire month. Not believing Betty Kane's story, Solicitor Blair takes up the case and, in a dazzling feat of amateur detective work, solves the unbelievable mystery that stumped even Inspector Grant. Did that just give away the entire story, basically? Either way, I will see how it works out. And that sounds pretty good. So this one I got in Open Books, which is a bookshop that it's mostly like a used bookshop, but this is a really good, clean copy, a pristine copy, Bonnie. And so I'm actually pretty happy about that. And Open Books, I think they're nonprofit, but either way, I know they contribute to literacy programs. So it's always nice to support things like that, literacy programs. I'm very for people reading, right? I always hope people enjoy reading as well. And the next one I found, I'm trying to remember where I found this. This might have been in Myopic Books. Might have been. Like I said, I jumped around here in these books, so I might be wrong by one or two of these books, but let's just pretend. This is a Penguin paperback, and it's a nonfiction, but it's a little bit, I think it's supposed to be a little bit humorous. I think it's by George, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, again, Meeks or Mikes. It looks like Mike's, but it's a Hungarian name, so, I actually know people who are Hungarian. I could have asked, but I did not do my homework. So, however his name is pronounced, forgive me, this gentleman, How to Be a Brit. I just thought that was kind of funny. He also wrote one called How to Be an Alien. This was written in the 1940s, so kind of a modern classic-ish. And yeah, there's a ton of how-to chapters in here, and also wonderful illustrations I saw the credit was given to, let's see, it says Nicholas Bentley drew the pictures. So I know how to say Bentley. Imagine if it's actually not pronounced like that. Look at this. You are my heart's delight. Can you see that? Anyway, I just think this is kind of cool, and I never heard of it before. So it's up my area of interest. So Oh, I couldn't help it. Speaking of my area interest, and I'm pretty sure I got this. Yes, it has open books in here. I definitely got this at Open Books. This is one of the heaviest books that I got. As you know, I'm always interested in keeping up my Jane Austen collection, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. It's a nice tea. It's just like a slightest bit of that ginger spice, bite to it, but not too overwhelming. Yes, I like it. It's a good, you know, summer's basically over kind of tea, but you could drink it anytime. Anyway, I've seen quotes from this writer, and I knew that I had to one day find something by this writer because she's such an expert on Jane Austen. So this is Jane Austen, the world of her novels. Look at that. It's beautiful, and it's very well colored pictures. And look, Open Books also gave me their bookmarks. It was, I honestly, one of the best things about this experience shopping in Open Books was the fact that my sister found the best parking ever. We were like so hesitant because it was too good to be true, but it was true. And like, yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm not a driver. I do not drive cars, but I love a good parking spot. So anyway, back to Jane Austen. So this is beautiful. We have maps, which I love. We have, I don't know, pictures. I think this is Chawton. So I'm quite excited to have yet another book about Jane Austen related material. Love it. And next, let's see. I'm not sure where I got this one. This, I believe, was Tangible Books. So let's just go with that. And of course, this is again another subject that I am very much. This is all related, kind of, but this is The Spirit of London by Paul Cohen Portheim. And it's a classic work of 1935. I seem to be kind of hovering around that time with these kind of nonfiction books. A fascinating glimpse at pre-war London. The book was written by an Austrian, again, someone outside of, coming from somewhere in Europe, who lived in London to convey the atmosphere and spirit of London. It is a book about what London stands for and what it means, and that sounds really cool. I hate to say these things because I always think that if I say it, something will go wrong, because that's what happened the last time, but I actually have a trip to London planned quite soon. So, of course, I'm not going to be able to read all the books about London that I have before the trip, because that is impossible, but it is nice to see these books and not just feel wistful like, oh, someday. So let's really hope that everything works out in the time between my doing this video and my actual trip. I really hope it works out. I don't want to be too, excited over anything anymore. Right? I mean, all the people who had a trip planned this past couple of weeks and, everything that's happened recently with the Queen and everything. Oh my goodness. But we shall see. And of course, if that happens, it's pretty likely that I'll have yet another haul for you all. But until then, I have one more book to show you. And this is a collection, I think. Did my sister also get this? I'm pretty sure she showed this to you all when she did her video. And then I was in, let's see, this is also Open Books. And I was like, I would love to get this collection, but only if it's a reasonable price. This was $5. This is a great price for this collection. It is Lark Rise the Candleford by Flora Thompson. Now, Flora Thompson is a name I better pronounce right, because I just better. It is just, anything with Tom in it, I should be able to pronounce. So I did watch the show a number of years ago when it came on, Lark Rise the Candleford. I don't know if I watched it when it came on or slightly afterwards, like streaming it or something. But either way, I really enjoyed it and I haven't watched it again in a long time, but I have never read the source material. So this just seems so cozy. I also have that whole collection of misread books. I feel like I've got to just lose myself in these at some point. And looking around just to make sure I didn't forget anything, and if I did, oh well, I really think I didn't. That was the haul. Part 2, I should say part 3 because my sister's was part 1, but either way, those were all the books that I picked up in Chicago, and I think it's pretty much, I know it sounds weird that I got more books about London than I did about Chicago, but you know what, I really liked visiting Chicago, and I'm looking forward to visiting again, but the main reason I went was because my sister was there. So yes, I wanted to have an interest in the city I was visiting, but I mostly was there to see my sister. I still say it was a really nice place to visit. I would like to go back and see more of it with my sister, of course. But you know, my subject of interest when it comes to cities tends to be either London or New York. That doesn't mean that I won't find books about Chicago in the future. I did enjoy The Devil in the White City. Not that it was a happy book, but it was an interesting enough book. So there may be more books about Chicago to come. But either way, I think it illustrated, excuse me, again, I think it illustrated the fact that I really, that if you look for good bookshops, if you go on a bit of a hunt, it's good to let a city show you what it has to offer. And you know what? As I'm talking, I'm remembering something. Give me a moment. I almost left you without mentioning one of the only book I bought new. Hello. But yes, just going on what I was saying, yes, it is good to look for the good bookshops and look for whatever it has to offer. And Chicago came through in so many ways. So if you are ever planning a trip to Chicago and you like books, it will probably come through for you too. But this book I bought in a Women and Children First bookshop. I think we also, yes. It is a, I don't know if I want to call it I guess it's like a feminist bookstore. I know it sounds like I'm making a joke, but that's because it's very similar in name to the bookshop that they use on Portlandia. So I was expecting maybe to have that feeling when I went in there, but it wasn't like that, but it was basically new books. A lot about, you know, I guess women's issues, etc., but not just. So it was a really nice shop. I enjoyed myself, but this is the book that I picked out. It just sounded something that would interest me, and I had not heard of it before. Hopefully it's good. It's called 1,000 Ways to Pay Attention. It's a pretty cover, right? Even with the like kind of cracked look about it. A memoir of coming home to my neurodivergent mind by Rebecca Schiller. And I find reading about neurodivergence very interesting. This one happens to be ADHD. I will read you the description. It should have been Rebecca Schiller's dream come true, moving her young family to the English countryside to raise goats and coax their own fruit and vegetables from the land. Does sound interesting to me. But as she writes, the summer of striding out toward a life of open fields and sacks of corn, I brought a confused black hole of something pernicious but not yet acknowledged along for the ride. Rebecca's health begins to crumble with bewildering symptoms, frequent falls, uncontrollable rages, and mysterious lapses in memory. As she fights to be seen by a succession of specialists, her fledgling homestead and her family hang on by increasingly tenuous threads. And when her diagnosis finally comes, it is utterly unexpected, severe ADHD. In her scramble for answers, Rebecca's consciousness alternately sears with pinpoint focus and spirals with connections. Childhood memories resurface with new meaning, and her daily life entwines with the history of intrepid women who tended this land before her. Her family weathers their growing pains, where generations of acorns have fallen to rise again as trees, where ancient wolves and lynx once stalked, why can't I read, the shadows. Written in unsparing, luminous prose, this is an all-absorbing memoir of one woman's newfound neurodivergence and a clarion call to overturn the narrative that says minds are either normal and good or different and broken. See, I really like to read about neurodivergence, particularly ADHD or autism. These are very important issues, actually, in my opinion, because especially these type of books, people who get diagnosed as adults, because that is actually a problem that many people have had to deal with, having to grow up feeling that something is off maybe about them, but always maybe hiding, masking, as it were, because trying to survive in the world of people. And usually that takes its toll at some point, and it can lead to maybe anxiety disorders or digestive disorders or all kinds of problems. And it can really mess up someone's life if they do not know, if they not have the resources and know where to get the resources. So anyway, so I saw that and I thought, that's the book I'm going to get from this bookshop, and I hope I enjoy it as well. And yes, now I've shown you. I knew. See, at the ending, when I was going through all those books, I had this little thing in the back of me that I'm forgetting something. And it was just my cat had tipped the book over, so I hadn't seen it. I'm gonna blame my cats. I blame my cats for everything. Why not? I blame my cats for my sinuses. So yeah. Oh, he's coming into the room. I know you don't see him, but he's coming to the room saying, "Wrap it up. Stop talking about me. And if you're gonna talk about me, let it be worth my while and feed me." Right, Freddie? Yep. Invisible Freddie once again. Well, I will leave you there for real. And for now, this is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea and book-filled day.